the Harlem of the West. Nightclubs, supper clubs, black-owned businesses. The Fillmore Western Addition had a heavy African-American population. Today, just a fraction of that remains. Now, you're going to hear from a few people with strong ties to the neighborhood. One, a former 49er who desperately wants to connect and help feed that small fraction of color who need it.
Once this COVID hit, I knew I had to do something.
The Fillmore District, Rosa Parks Elementary Blacktop, early Wednesday mornings, and San Francisco Marin Food Bank is there.
Zucchini, 4.
So is this 6'5" leader of this pop-up pantry site, Dennis Brown.
We're here in the Western Addition. We're in the Fillmore, and there's a strong African-American community here.
If the name Dennis Brown sounds familiar, what he did making plays for the 49ers for 7 seasons might jar your memory. What drives him now?
I grew up with food insecurities. I was homeless as a child. I was homeless as an adult. So food insecurity means a lot to me. And being able to be part of a program like the food bank, San Francisco Marin Food Bank, it really gives me a lot of pleasure.
We have our distribution table here. We got 18-count eggs a day. That's a lot of omelets, Vern.
The reason why I got involved was because I think in our African-American, in our community, we're missing out on this.
African-American presence in the Fillmore has been missing for decades.
I would call it the sin of urban renewal.
Landon Taylor, corporate strategist and native of the Western Addition, speaks of the city's redevelopment project that wiped out 4 prime city blocks of her neighborhood, which in the 1970s was 80% black. The damage was catastrophic.
883 businesses were closed. By the way, my Aunt Toogie's drugstore was one of them that got closed, all with the promise that, hey, don't worry, we'll bring you back. Not only did most of them never come back, Vern, but as you know, you looked at the stats, the African-American population plummeted, right? From 12, 13%, down, under 3%.
In fact, the Bay Area census shows the percentage of black African-Americans in San Francisco City and County dropped from almost 13% in 1980 to 11% by 1990, 2000 almost 8%, 2010 6% to just over 5% in 2020, according to World Population Review. Activist engineer Fred Jordan.
In this city, if you don't have jobs, if you don't have contracts, you have to go. And the discrimination is still here. It's still here. And that's what we have.
Meantime, Brown just wants to feed and connect.
My wife grew up in the Fillmore, so it means a lot. My mother-in-law is right up the street on Fell Street. And this is my community. And we just need more African-American families just to come out here and take advantage of this resource, because I'm here and I'm bringing the energy, and you will be welcome here for sure.
He's there every Wednesday. You can't miss him. He's 6'5".
And this week, Vern Glenn introduces us to a teacher hoping to inspire the next generation of educators. Vern?
All right, Ken, the average public school teacher in the United States, according to Education Week News, it's a white woman, early 40s, with 14 years experience. And according to the National Center for Education Statistics, white public school teachers dominate 80% of the country. Black public school teachers, less than 7%. And in the Bay Area, there is a long way to go to get even close to evening those odds. We start in Hayward with someone who brings a different tune to the profession.
Hello, JoJo. Hello, Lena.
She's got an infectious laugh. Teaches to her own beat. Meet the distance learning dancer. Meet 5th and 6th grade teacher Giovanni Coleman.
For me, if I can't find some love, some humor, some connectedness with the kids that I'm seeing every day, especially in this environment, I think you almost have to entertain on some level. Amelia, I see you, okay?
Kindergarten through 6th grade. The East Avenue Eagles in Hayward is 16% black, 53% Hispanic. Coleman's classes begin and oftentimes end with dance. In a way, this award-winning teacher of 17 years has been performing her whole life.
Music has always been a part of my life, and yeah, dancing went kind of hand in hand with that. So as a student, as a sixth grade student, I myself was out there and singing and dancing.
She's got the pictures with her jazz all-stars to prove it from her days at Highland Elementary in Oakland. Now, if you want to make her change her tune, bring up diversity among Bay Area African-American teachers. According to the California Department of Education, in the Bay Area's two largest school districts, in San Francisco, 6% of all public school teachers are black. Oakland, 19%.
Definitely not enough, and I know that there are statistics that say how powerful by the time a student is reaching 5th grade, having a black teacher, just one black teacher, can make a difference in terms of the longevity of their education and their trajectory.
You won't get an argument for Dr. Misha Mosley, head of the Oakland-based Black Teacher Project, designed to support and develop black teachers.
It's a shrinking population, and more when we think about the anti-blackness that exists in Oakland, having black teachers, having caring black adults in positions of authority for young people across race to see is hugely important in healing racial divides that exist here.
Public education in this country wasn't created for people that look like you and me. And so we're having to create our own kind of way in these systems that have for a long time tried to keep us down or out completely. Hey, I see some people looking like they're already working on scale drawings.
There is another need for Coleman to connect. Some of these kids she hopes might be teachers someday. According to a UCLA Transformation of Schools study, in California, students of color represent 77% of the K through 12th grade population. In contrast, teachers of color, 37% of the teaching force. Meantime, Ms. Coleman keeps moving and inspiring.
I'm the gate holder or opener in that I'm trying to create pathways so that kids see themselves at UC Berkeley, at UC Davis, at Chabot, at Cal State Hayward, wherever they want to end up, that they see themselves in these spaces that have for a long time said, you don't belong here. And I'm saying, why not? Of course we belong here.
Coleman will continue to suggest kids and young adults, especially African Americans, to think about the teaching profession. You're about to meet an African American woman who has been to the mountaintop of Silicon Valley, enjoyed the view, and is among the leaders in the charge for change. Welcome to Silicon Valley, a pocket of Santa Clara County where the titans of tech companies roam. For 6 seasons through 2019, the industry was depicted on the HBO hit show that bears its name. No African Americans were a part of that main cast. And in real life,
what's happening?
People don't always know what to expect because we don't fit the profile of what they think is a Silicon Valley CEO or Silicon Valley founder.
that is Shelley Archambault, one of the first African American female tech CEOs in Silicon Valley. In the early 2000s, she took a struggling company, merged it with San Jose-based Metric Stream, and built it into a global giant. She has gone on to sit on the board of Fortune 500 companies, including Verizon. Her story is chronicled in her book, Unapologetically Ambitious. As for diversity in the Valley,
I've been in the Valley now for, probably almost 20 years. And it is definitely better than it was at the turn of the century. But is it where it needs to be? It's not.
a June 2020 study shows 67% of tech companies have fewer than 5% black employees. 89% of those companies have fewer than 8%. I'm not picking on Facebook, but I was looking at some of these numbers. In 2014, the black leadership percentage was 2%. Hey, it's a lot better in 2020, 3%.
There you go. I at least credit Facebook for sharing their numbers. The ones that are being courageous and actually sharing numbers as bad as they are should actually be applauded because they're trying to make change and trying to be visible. There are a lot of companies out there that aren't even sharing, that are doing significantly worse.
Look at the Bay Area women of color who have become founders and tech leaders in Archambault's wake.
I felt like I had finally found my place in the world.
African-American entrepreneur Julia Collins is trying to turn her $1 million San Francisco tech company, Planet FWD, into billions like she has done before. She is the first black woman to achieve unicorn status. That's any startup company valued at $1 billion. For those of color with the ambition of entering the tech world, Archambault is calling out companies to say, talent of color is out there.
Silicon Valley has proven it can do just about anything. We can send rockets to the moon. We can create cars that don't use gas. We can create, come on, we can find talent in this world where, 68% of the population is not a white male.
Archambault has a heavy influence sitting on the board of Fortune 500 companies. And Julia Collins, who was in that piece, says that when she was getting her $1 billion company, Zoom Pizza, off the ground, she would greet visitors at the door. And you know what some of them said? Yeah, can you grab me a water? I'm here to see the founder.